Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of Second Take Cinema, coming at you from the glorious Impala Films headquarters in sunny Southend-on-Sea. As always, I'm your host Jamie Evans, joined by Rory Jocelyn.
Hello!
But not as per usual, we have a guest today. Kirk Redgate's here.
Hello everyone.
Kirk is a film fan, a filmmaker, writer. How would you describe yourself, Kirk?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to make another film, but
And he's got massive guesticles.
It's not funny. You're not. These all get cut. I don't know why you do them.
Maybe a fact. But carry on.
Kirk's got a short movie that I believe is available to the public on YouTube. To me, is that right?
Yeah, To Me. Yeah, it's been on there for a few years now.
And how can people find that? What do they search? Just To Me, or do they have to search your name?
I don't actually know. Maybe just search my name, Kirk Redgate, and you'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a short little horror film that I had the joy of being a producer on.
You did, yeah. Check it out.
It was very fun. We built a rain machine for it.
We did, yeah.
Which is the first and only time we've ever done that so far.
It was great. It worked really well.
It worked great for me. I had to stand under it and simulate the lightning.
You
remember?
did.
I
just wish we had shot the flashes of lightning throughout. We didn't do that.
We're honoured to be joined by Kirk as we turn back time to 1997 as we give a second take to Titanic. Titanic is a 1997 romantic disaster movie written, produced, directed and co-edited by James Cameron, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, Billy Zane, Kathy Bates, Frances Fisher, Bernard Hill and Bill Paxton. It had a budget of $200 million and grossed a absolutely gigantic $2.264 billion. For a long time, this film had the record as the highest-grossing film of all time before Cameron decided, I think I can do better. And he broke his own record with Avatar, which we haven't covered yet, but we will be doing at some point.
Smurfs.
Because, neither of us like Avatar. In terms of critical reception, Titanic garnered mostly positive reviews from film critics and was positively reviewed by audiences and scholars who commented on the film's cultural, historical and political impact. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a score of 88%, with the site's critical consensus reading a mostly unqualified triumph for James Cameron, who offers a dizzying blend of spectacular visuals and old-fashioned melodrama.
Quick question, what do they mean by unqualified?
I don't know.
What does that mean? It's just they've just thrown a word in.
They're just being cunts, aren't
yeah,
they, really?
Just, like the man never made a hit before.
Yeah. Well, with regard to the film's overall design, Roger Ebert said, "It is flawlessly crafted, intelligently constructed, strongly acted, and spellbinding."
He's wrong.
Movies like this are not merely difficult to make at all, but almost impossible to make well. He credited the technical difficulties with being so daunting that it's a wonder when the filmmakers are also able to bring the drama and history into proportion, and found himself convinced by both the story and the sad saga. He named it his 9th best movie of 1997, and Siskel and Ebert both gave it 2 thumbs up.
9th best movie
of 1997.
That was a glorious. It's pitch perfectly constructed. Blah blah blah. 9th best.
Yeah, James. Well, it must have been a good year for films.
What came?
97.
We'll have to
What
look
came
this up.
before
What
it?
else came out in '97 that he's
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
what I'd like
yeah,
to
it's
know.
brilliant, but it's only number 9.
We'll have a look later. James Berardinelli said it was meticulous in detail yet vast in scope and intent. Titanic is the kind of epic motion picture event that has become a rarity. You don't just watch Titanic, you experience it. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Let's see if anyone...
No, but it's just... It's so pretentious when they write shit
Yeah.
like that.
However-
Also, it makes it sound like a VR experience. I'd expect Apple fucking VR to be doing that shit.
However, Titanic suffered a backlash in addition to its success, with some reviewers feeling that while the visuals were spectacular, the story and dialogue were weak. Richard Corliss of Time magazine wrote a mostly negative review, criticising the lack of interesting emotional elements. Kenneth Turan's review in the Los Angeles Times was particularly scathing. Dismissing the emotive elements, he stated, "What really brings on the tears is Cameron's insistence that writing this kind of movie is within his abilities. Not only is it not, it's not even close."
Why did the woman get the door? Is what I'm hearing underneath all of that.
And last one, Barbara Schulgasser of the San Francisco Examiner gave Titanic 1 star.
That's
Come on, there's no... Like, even the worst interpretation
What
of
is
this
it,
is not a
Saying,
1 star.
so she said 1 star, stating the number of times in this unbelievably badly written script that the 2 lead characters refer to each other by name.
No, this is true.
It is true. Was an indication of just how dramatically the script lacked anything more interesting for the actors to say. Ouch. And just a last little bit. The filmmaker Robert Altman. Are we all familiar with Robert Altman? We've all heard of him.
What do you do?
Yeah, add it for the listeners.
So Robert Altman was an indie director. He unfortunately passed away in 2006. His most famous directorial achievements include MASH, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, The Long Goodbye, Nashville, Gosford Park, and The Company. And he, when he was asked about Titanic, called it the most dreadful piece of work I've ever seen in my entire life.
This is not true, man.
To be fair, it's not quite MASH.
No, I never watched MASH.
Neither have I.
No. It weren't my show growing up. I was more of a Blackadder kind of guy.
Well,
here's the
we're
thing,
going to
like-
talk about Titanic in just a minute.
Yeah, the type of genre is, let's be honest, it's not going to be for everyone.
No. Okay, so here we are. We are talking about Titanic. I think I put this one in the list,
Yes,
I
you
think,
did.
because it was the highest grossing film of all time. I haven't seen it since I was little. I've never seen it as an adult. I've not seen it since I was a kid. So I decided to watch it again. And I invited Kirk along because I know Kirk's a big fan of Titanic. You bought the 4K, I think? The 4K restoration?
Recently, yeah, it came out about a month ago, yeah.
Yeah, you watched it yet?
Yeah, it's really nice, yeah.
Yeah, any changes in it, or...?
Actually, there's a really good bonus feature on it where it's like there's an hour of cut footage and it's like in the 4K format as well, and it's completely cut. But it's also got James Cameron's commentary over the top. So you can understand why this stuff was cut, but it was really interesting seeing that footage as well.
Yeah.
And you're telling me there was an extra fucking
Extra hour. I wish there was a longer cut with that hour just put
No.
I do, man, because Titanic Sea is just one of these films for me, right? I'm going to say it right now. It's 3 hours long. But for me,
3 hours and 20 minutes.
Well, there you go. Thanks for correcting me, Rory.
You really feel the 20
But,
minutes.
mate, it goes so quick every single time. Every time I watch it.
Do you think so?
Every time I watch it, I'm glued, man. I can't help
Wow.
it.
That's cool.
Well, tell us about, do you remember the first time you ever saw it?
Yeah, man. It was at the cinema when I was about 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
So I went multiple times because it was the hot ticket.
You're the
right?
reason it made so much money.
Right? It was the hot ticket. I was like 12, 13. And then obviously I had other groups of friends who wanted to see it. So I just kept getting asked, let's go and watch it. So I just kept going back with different groups of friends. Shamefully enough, I watched it at the cinema at least probably 3-4 times when it came out. So that's the first time I saw it.
And were you like into filmmaking at that point or not quite? Or?
I hadn't made any films or anything, but I was more than just your casual viewer because obviously I started watching, as you know, I was quite obsessed with George Romero in that was sort of like the same sort of time, 97, 98. So that's when I started actually following directors' work, so to speak. So I was kind of into film a bit more than the casual viewer at that point, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And you liked the film?
Yeah, I loved it, yeah. That's why I went back 4 times.
Yeah.
I did like it, man, yeah.
Yes.
Important question.
Did you cry?
No, man, I've never cried. No, I've never cried.
I've never cried a single
there's a couple
tear.
of films that have made me cry.
McMahon.
I'll say there's a couple of films that have made me cry. Titanic's not one of them.
No, okay, fair enough. Do you remember when
yeah.
you first saw Titanic, Rory?
No, I remember seeing it. That I'd seen it as a kid, and I was one of them kids. who was like, "Oh, it's gay because it's a romance." Because I was a twat as a child. Weirdly enough, not grown hugely out of that. But
How old was you when you watched this for the first time?
so I watched it when it came to home video. So that would have been about 99. I would have been about 13, 14.
Yeah.
Right at that sort of age where you should be maturing out of that, and I hadn't quite reached it yet.
Right.
And then I had chickenpox. I think I watched it while I had chickenpox. I don't know why I have that memory, but either way, I had late chickenpox. Stupid. I have to say I would have shared the door with Jack if it was me. If I cared about someone that bloody much, I wouldn't have let him drown.
Let's break the film down a bit. Let's start by talking about all of the... Because I think it's the worst part of the film. Let's talk about all the present-day stuff first, shall we? And then talk about the meat of the film.
So I want to give one positive to the present-day stuff
Okay.
as a start off, because I'm not a big fan of the length of this movie, and there's things I would cut. A lot of it actually stems from this.
Yeah, I'd cut all the present-day stuff. I don't know why any of it's here.
However, if you wanted to keep it, there's a couple of things. Number one of the positives, it's clearly not CGI, it's miniature work. And the miniature work of the underwater sequences looking through the boat are phenomenal.
No, buddy. They actually
It's
went.
a mix of both.
They actually dove as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you know James Cameron's an avid diver.
Yeah.
They started filming in 1995.
Yeah, they
Right.
did, yeah.
And like all the shots of the Titanic underwater, they actually went. Honestly,
So,
I'll tell you,
I
this
mean,
whole
the bits
film.
where the miniatures go through the boat rooms, that's got to be miniature work. Not
Yeah, so
actual...
basically,
Yeah.
it's a mix of the two. Like when you watch it, it's really hard to tear apart what's miniature and what isn't. There's shots near the beginning. Do you know you see like two drones? Apparently, whenever you see two drones, it's the miniatures. When you see one drone, it's the real thing. So it jumps back and forth a lot to the real boat.
But if
miniatures,
there's only
real
one
boat.
drone, who filmed it?
I'm not sure,
There's
but I
gotta be
believe
at least a second drone.
I believe that's what it is. Because they're not in every. There's two drones in some shots, but there's only one drone in other shots.
Right.
So I know one's one and one's the other.
Right. So when it's real, it's because they could they had to use the second drone to carry the camera.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, I have to say that the miniature work, the way that they puff in smoke for the miniatures and things like that, it looks bloody brilliant. I can't fault the visual effects at this point of the movie. There are a few later on I want to have a bit of a pop about, but at this point, the miniature work is phenomenal. What I would say, it takes 21 minutes to get past the intro and get us on the bloody Titanic at the right era. So 21 minutes of
modern day
pissing
stuff.
about in the modern day. Even if you were to keep it, because I know what you're saying, you just start it at the day it's meant to be at, rather than have this future element. Even if you keep the future element, because they try and pay that off with a little bit of a twist at the end, which everyone sees coming, so it's not really a twist. Which is Rose really Rose?
Well, when did that happen?
Right at the end, there's that whole thing where they start off and it's like, oh, well, Rose is dead, so it can't really be her. Bring her in anyway, and we'll listen to her talk about how she fucked a guy in the back of a boat.
Yeah,
Like,
I
a
never
bit
questioned
weird.
that. I just knew it was Rose.
But yeah,
which is why I'd say don't do it, because then you
Yeah.
know Rose ain't gonna die.
Yeah, but there is that. But even if you were to keep this sequence, the thing they get wrong, and the thing that keeps it being a bit too long, in my opinion, is you get the divers going in. They look through Titanic. They're like, "Oh, we're going to be rich. We found the spirit of the ocean, or whatever it's called,
Heart of the ocean.
Heart of the ocean,
Yeah.
the jewel." And then they find they don't have it.
The spirit of the ocean.
Yeah. And then they're on the news, and Rose is at home, and she overhears the news on the TV, and it's like, "Oh, I remember this." And then her daughter calls them up and goes, "Oh, we've got to take..." It's like, just make Rose part of the expedition.
It's been
Like,
84 years.
But at this point, just make Rose part of the expedition. Because all you're doing is delaying time for no reason. To have to bring Rose along and figure out, oh, how did Rose hear about the story? How did Rose get to contact the diving team? Which isn't really explained anyway. Yeah. So just make, when they go, oh, we haven't found it, sorry, Rose, turn around, and the big boss who's, overseeing the operation is Rose or Rose's daughter. Yeah. Either one. We don't need to go back to how she's sitting at home looking after the grandkids. Yeah. That bit's unnecessary.
How do you feel about the modern day sequences?
Yeah, I do agree slightly, but I'm still entertained by it though.
Right.
So this is where we're gonna, because all right, I didn't know it was 21 minutes, but It's just like I still like that build. It builds up the story. So then when we do go to the Titanic and then it crosses over, it just sets up the story kind of thing. You've seen it from Rose's perspective and stuff like that. But I know what you mean, but I don't know. I still enjoy it.
So going to the actual like main part of the film now, because I want to be clear, I don't hate this film.
No, I don't hate this film either.
I enjoyed watching it.
Are you sure?
It's
There's bit I'm frustrated at the length and some of the bad scripting.
I do want to say though, like where the film starts, you were just saying how good the miniature work is. I just feel like the film just sucks you in from the get go. For me, at least, anyway. You got that. You've got the sad music at the start, and then you've got the shit, and then it just takes you straight down to the old Titanic, which is like haunting and.
But I think you could have done that just by using the visuals over like the intro credits, and then going back to the modern, like going to the the 1920s or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And starting from there, I think that would have achieved a similar effect. Because what it is the mystery of the ship going through. The bit about fanning about trying to find Rose or the heart of the ocean, I don't really care. It's the human element at the time and the tragic loss that is the important bit, and the mystery of seeing the boat underwater. That whole story of old Rose.
Do you think the whole heart of the ocean thing is just like?
I don't think it's that important because honestly, who cares? It's an expensive gemstone. It has an important point in the story.
Yeah.
Insofar as it turns out that's what Billy Zane's character realistically cares. Even
and she doesn't.
Yeah,
so
she doesn't care about the money about it. She's more worried about Jack.
Yeah.
But in terms of the present day, meaningless, really. Like, because it's just a reason for them to dive for money. But are you telling me there's nobody interested in the Titanic unless they can make money out of it? There's so much interest in Titanic as to the fact that this film exists. Everyone was fascinated by how the unsinkable ship got sunk.
Bill Paxton's character is just so focused on getting the diamond, right? He's just like money, money, money. He's just there for the diamond.
And I don't think
and
it's
then
necessary.
At the end, I know I'm jumping to the end here, but then obviously Rose chucks the heart.
Because they think it's lost forever.
Sure, and
she
then
got
it's
rimmed
just
in a car.
Yeah. I'm jumping ahead.
No, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. I do like the film, and I totally agree. Let me say my positives about this film, which is it's a perfect example of an American blockbuster, the type of which they don't make anymore. Because every fucking film now has to be part of a franchise or a comic book movie
Even
or
his
a
replacement
remake.
Avatar, it was like, I've already got 4 parts worth.
Exactly.
It's like, dude.
This is on its own. There is technically a Titanic 2, but we don't talk about it.
Let's not. I tried watching that just for pure humorous.
How was it?
Real bad, man. I turned it off after 10 minutes. It was on Amazon Prime or something. I just checked it out.
I can't imagine how you'd continued the story.
I knew it was going to be so bad.
He shot it on the biggest water stage in the world. Titanic 2, I think it's a guy in his bathtub with a little toy boat.
Yeah, he literally builds another Titanic, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
but it's the Asylum that made it, innit? So it's got
They would
40
have been better
grand
off doing
budget.
like the Britannia or just focus on another boat in the same line.
Just watch the first 10 minutes just for a laugh.
Yeah.
It's real bad.
The effects are obviously great. It's great to see, especially because we live in an age now where everything's CGI'd. It's great seeing the actual real sets getting absolutely flooded.
I think that's what there ain't been a film made like it since. I don't think. It's just
it doesn't
it's so
green
grand.
screen.
They built half of a ship,
Yeah.
the Titanic, to make that film, and even another half to do where it started tipping and stuff like that, sinking.
It's my problem with this film. I have 2 problems. One, it's too long. I do think it's too long. I know you said it went quickly for you, Kirk. It didn't for me. I had to keep stopping and going and stretching my legs.
But what part bores you to the point where it pulls you out, where you think it's too long? I'm interested because I'm always entertained.
Yeah, mine will come later. I'm not bored at this point. I still think that the current day bits are too long. Kind of unnecessary, but even if you're going to
quite short though, the current day bits,
21 minutes.
In total, they add up to nearly an hour.
Yeah.
In total.
Really?
Yeah. Because we keep coming back to hear about her. She got fucking done in the back of a car. And she's telling her daughter that.
I had no idea it was an hour's worth.
Because a fun fact, apparently, according to James Cameron, if you take all the modern day bits out, the film that's left runs for exactly how long it took the real life Titanic to sink, apparently.
What fun fact.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, my problem
I
with the
had no
film,
idea.
my problem with the film is the script is bad. The script's really bad.
not
so-
all the way
what's bad
through,
about
Jay.
it? It is,
What's
it
bad
is.
about it? What,
So-
the dialogue between them?
Yeah.
Or?
So for example, you've got really heavy. Honestly, to the point where I literally rolled my eyes when when Leo and his friend first get on the Titanic. They win their tickets and they get on, and he's like, "We're the luckiest sons of bitches in the world." I was like, "Fuck's sake, no, you're not," and we know we're not. They're constantly having to say each other's
What's
names.
wrong with that line?
But
I'm
they-
just
but they
It's
curious.
just so heavy-handed.
But they think they are because they've just.
I
won
know, but
tickets in
that's
a poker
James
game.
Cameron. You know that's James Cameron winking at the audience, going, I'm funny, aren't I?" It's like, no, you're not, James. Stop it.
But what would you do instead? Like, they've won the tickets, they get on the boat.
I just
they're
don't need
poor
them to
people
say-
with no other option.
I just don't
That's
need him
the
to say
golden
we're the
ticket, isn't
luckiest
it?
son of
Like-
bitch in the world. You just don't need the line.
You're building up the tragedy, though.
It didn't, though. That's the problem. And this thing, the
It
film...
was too heavy-handed for you. I
pro-
didn't have a problem with that line,
The
personally.
problem for me is the film's tragedy peaks earlier than the film thinks it does for me.
Okay.
I also didn't like... I tell you what I did like, actually, when they're looking at the lifeboats and the woman goes, "Will the lifeboats be seated according to class?" Fuck off.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate that. Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
off.
But I love that that's in there, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that is important. Because,
Oh, yeah, I said that's a good bit.
yeah, classism in this film is quite an important role.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like the fact it doesn't actually shy away from it.
She's such a horrible character as
Yeah.
well. Like, you generally hate that woman.
How often the word rose is said in this film is obnoxious.
Yes. Yeah, that is bad.
That's screenwriting 101. We learnt that day one in script writing class. You don't have to have your character constantly saying the name.
So the worst part of it is when this is about halfway
When
through.
he's handcuffed.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
going, "Rose, get the thing. Rose, do this.
There's-
Rose, do that."
And it happens again after Billy Zane gets the gun and tries shooting at them and they have to disappear below deck where it's sinking. That whole bit as they're running through, "Over here, Rose. Let's go through here, Rose. Come on, Rose." It's like, guys, we know her name by now.
Yeah.
We're halfway through a long-ass movie. Like, I know her name is right. You don't have to tell
No,
me.
that's definitely a fair criticism.
My only other real bad thing, because
Call
then
her Frank and I'll be surprised. You know, it's...
my only other real bad thing, because then I can get over the bad things and talk about what I like about the movie.
Sure.
The fact that Billy Zane survives this movie is a crime against humanity. To the point where, if you'd have asked, I was sure he died. I thought he was the one the chimney fell on top of, but it doesn't. It's Leo's
That's
friend,
Leo's
isn't it?
friend, yeah.
You cannot have a character so cartoonishly evil as Billy Zane's character is, and he doesn't drown?
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that because there's a couple of things they could have done with Billy Zane's character to make it worthwhile. Either he dies because he's just a cartoon villain, or number two, the way he survives is he basically steals a child.
Yeah, which is
Right?
great.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
he's so evil.
Yeah. But there's a couple of moments in the film where he almost has the option of redemption and chooses not to take it.
Yes.
It could have been that we had a bit more of that to 3D his character a bit. And when he takes the kid, he realizes that he's got a responsibility. And he's like, there is literally no one for this kid, but we'd need a bit more heart from him previously in the film
It's
as
just
well.
too much of a selfish bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where
well,
he's
because
so-
even when, when
Yeah.
his boat sinks a little bit, doesn't it? His rescue boat.
Yeah.
And he's standing on it and people are trying to climb back into it. And he's like
He's just
kicking
pushing
them
back-
off, isn't
yeah,
he?
he don't
Going,
care
get
about-
off your
yeah, of
capsize.
course
And
he
it's
is,
like,
yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah, he's the most selfish bastard.
Yeah, like he's good. Billy Zane's good in the part. Don't get me
I
wrong.
think he's great in the part.
He
yeah.
nails the part, but the part is unfortunately too two-dimensional. He's also a badly written character, not in terms of being a bad character, just in the fact that he's got no third dimension.
Yeah.
I think he had quite a tough part to play as well. Like,
Yeah.
he's obviously,
He's got to be somehow be charismatic while being that big of a dickhead.
The,
Sure,
only thing,
yeah.
the only thing I can think of, I'm trying to put myself in James Cameron's shoes, because to me, the film is crying out for Billy Zane to die. He should either get crushed by the chimney, or he should get...
You really want him to get crushed by a chimney.
Or the bit where he goes absolute ape shit and he's trying to shoot them, and even Spicer Lovejoy's like, "Do you really care that much about the money?" And he starts laughing because that's when he realizes she's got the heart of the ocean.
Yeah.
Then the wall should come down and a fucking tidal wave should take him. That's my thinking. But putting myself in James Cameron's shoes, I wonder if the reason he didn't do that is that would give the audience the audience will be like, yeah, fuck you, you got what was coming to
And
you.
then there's some catharsis to someone getting killed in the Titanic.
And maybe he just wanted the tragedy, maybe.
I was more satisfied seeing Lovejoy when he's on halfway down the ship when it splits in half.
And he hits the propeller, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Does Lovejoy? But I don't
No,
know.
that's
He's
someone
holding
else's.
onto the ship when it snaps, isn't it? And you see that horror on his face. But I don't know if you see him after that point. He probably falls down.
He
the middle
does
of the ship.
fall.
Yeah, he falls. I think that's the last you see.
But
him.
you know, because I think that character, even though Billy Zane's character is an absolute jerk, Lovejoy, Lovejoy is quite a horrible character as well. You don't like that guy.
It's because he's British.
So it's quite good.
Sounds more evil than Billy
But
Zane
then, even
does.
then, what's Billy Zane's character? I forget what's his
Cal.
name. All right. When even though you say obviously Cal does survive, but then you do get that dialogue, that voiceover at the end saying that he shot himself.
Yeah, about 10 years later.
Yeah, so you're still getting that sense of like, okay, the guy, he earned his millions and stuff, but he still ended up killing himself. So there's still that kind of like, bad guys don't always win.
He loses his money in the Wall Street crash, doesn't he? And then kills himself.
That's right. So you still get that feeling, even though you don't die in the Titanic, you still get that sense of like, okay, he still got finished off later, you know. So he deserved not to win, and then he kind of doesn't in a sense. Do you know what I mean? He didn't get what he wanted.
It is I mean, James Cameron, I'll give him this. Even with Avatar, as bad as I really don't like Avatar, James Cameron is a master of spectacle. And it is very cool and very like a sense of awe when the Titanic first starts lifting out the water. That's I love that bit. Like, I got chills watching that bit. Like, where you just see like the propeller. There's all the little people, isn't there, floating in the water, and then like the propellers start to come up out the water, and that almost feels. So we recently covered Godzilla v Kong, right? James Cameron does a better job of capturing the scale of the Titanic and how terrifying it is that it's lifting out the water more than Godzilla v Kong does a giant fucking nuclear dinosaur coming out of the water.
You've got to remember as well, Kong is jumping from ship to ship in that film.
Yeah.
Those aircraft carriers, each of them are bigger than the Titanic in physical size in reality.
Yeah.
And yet the Titanic feels bigger. It feels
does.
more
It feels
monstrous.
heavier.
Yeah. Because it's got
more
weight to it.
emotional weight.
And it's also not CGI. CGI, unfortunately, often feels floaty. Whereas where they built actual models, actual pieces of the ship, it has the weight because it's a physical thing.
I think it's just shot so incredibly well.
The direction on this film is very strong. I think
Massively.
I think the script is the failing more so than the direction. Because it's quite amateurish in places, the script, but the direction is not amateurish.
Oh, not at all. No.
So I think the direction helps.
Shots in there.
Yeah, I think the direction helps make up for the shortfalls in the script more so than anything else.
But he's obviously captured what the public want because the film did
It did gangbusters.
so incredibly well.
Most people like a love story. And I love James Cameron's pitch for the film where it's just like, Romeo and Juliet on this ship. And that was his pitch. And it's like, it's such a tragic event that happens. And then he just puts this Romeo and Juliet kind of story. I think it's like...
Yeah.
I found this... Sorry, go on, Rory.
That's right. So like yourself, I'm just going to run through a few of the things that I found negative in it. So that way I can speak more positively about the film. Because I actually didn't dislike this film. So I want to get it all out of the way. The film is, as I say, 3 hours and I think 15 minutes actually, rather than 20. But it's quite a long film. 21 minutes to get to the actual Titanic era. Then it's 31 minutes before the Titanic goes. So if you'd cut that intro present day stuff, you'd have gotten basically the ship to sea by about 15 minutes in. The reason that would help is for Rose to actually accept Jack and their relationship to properly blossom after a little bit of back and forth comes in at the 1 hour 21 minute mark. Now, if you remove the 21 minutes of tossing about in the present day, that happens at about an hour in, which is about right for an Act 1 structure in a 2 hour movie.
So is this the point where Rosie's thinking about jumping off the back of the ship?
No. That's already happened. Oh, okay. So this is the point where she's basically gone, I don't want anything to do with you, and then realised that actually she'd rather be with Jack than with Cal,
yeah.
So she decides to, go back to Jack. At that point where she actually properly accepts Jack, that's an hour and 21 minutes in.
Okay.
Then the iceberg appears at 1 hour 38.
It's about halfway
Right.
into the film.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
it's about halfway into the movie.
Yeah.
But if you chopped out that 21 minutes, the iceberg would appear at about an hour and 15 minutes in, which is about right for the start of the impending doom of Act 2. And then it ramps from there. And then there's things later on I'd cut to decrease the end of the runtime, which should bring the film down to a decent 2.5 hour long length, which I think would be imminently more watchable. And honestly, I don't think you'd lose anything too tragic, because most of the elements that were important, the love story, the destruction of the Titanic, the tragedy of the loss of life, that all stays. You just lose, I think, a lot of the unnecessary preamble. One of the things I'd cut is what I mentioned earlier, when Cal starts shooting at them with the gun and they go underneath the lower decks. That whole sequence where they find the kid, then they try and save the kid, the dad comes along, runs it into its own death, basically, trying to run towards when the bulkhead blows. And then they get trapped behind the wire fence. Like the gate, yeah. And the guy tries to help and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I dropped the keys," and runs off. That sequence is unnecessary and adds literally nothing.
You would have loved the extended the stuff that was cut, because that scene's a lot longer as well. Where's Cal chases them with the gun, and they go into the dining hall. It's all flooded, and they're running through the water. That scene is about another 7 minutes long, where Lovejoy, he continues looking for him, but it was but he cut it because it turns into a bit of an action film at that point. And Lovejoy's in the dining hall, and you got all the china hitting each other and stuff, and he's looking for him in the dining hall, and Jack and Rose are hiding behind the tables and chairs, and he's got his gun. But it was at this point, it's why would you care about the diamonds? You're probably going to die. Kind of thing. So Cameron was no one's going to care about really getting the diamond back at this point. You're just going to want to
save your life, And they've still got millions. They're still rich beyond their wildest dreams.
But so it's you say, stuff after that, it is stuff like that with a kid and all that, where they're trying to... They go through quite a journey to get back on deck because they're stuck, because they've had to run away from Cal. They're stuck under.
But it doesn't actually add anything. It's just stuff happening. It doesn't actually add anything to their tragedy or add anything to their story.
It doesn't add nothing to their story.
Or their relationship. Their relationship doesn't grow during that little period.
I think all it's doing is putting the characters in danger, because there's all the water flooding in. They're up to their necks in it, and they're kind of.
The problem is we see that on the
isn't it?
Yeah,
they're escaping a bit of danger.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're seeing that happen to people outside anyway. You know that's inevitable, and it's already been shown when they trap the working class people behind the gate. We've seen the tragedy and the anti-class, the classist elements of that.
Yeah.
This literally is just stuff happening. And I'm we don't need this stuff.
Unless it's,
They're putting Jack and Rose through it, though.
You want them to survive, I guess.
Other people go through it, but then seeing the main character...
It feels a bit
I know it doesn't add anything.
Because if you're we need to put Jack and Rose through it because you want them to survive... But we didn't kill Billy Zane's character because it seems unnecessary to make you want someone to die. Then surely you already know that the people don't want, the audience are not wanting the characters to die. You've built this relationship. You don't want it to end tragically. Yeah. Mm. You've already done your job doing that. It's unnecessary. And you are right. It's just it's. I see it as bloat. You can see it as spectacle, depending on your perspective on it. But it does literally add nothing. And the only other thing I want to point out, and then I'm going to start talking much more positively about the film, is the water roars.
Yes.
There is a point when they go underneath the thing and the kid's there, you hear the water going... You're
really?
Yeah, and it's literally... It's not the bulkhead buckling, it's raw.
It's when the little portholes are exploding.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy gets sucked through the porthole. The water roars like it's Godzilla.
Wow.
It's so dumb.
Which I think is supposed to be the rush of air coming through the suddenly broken glass, but it sounds like Godzilla. And you're oh...
Now that would be a great combo. Godzilla comes along
the Titanic.
Make that one.
Other than that, again, the only other thing I've got that's a negative is that when we keep jumping back to the present day, Rose is literally when she does the whole "draw me like one of your French girls," and she starts talking about having the most steamy sex in the back of the car. Her fucking daughter's there. And her daughter's saying, "Oh, what a lovely story! How you got rimmed by some unknown dude who's now dead."
Don't be a prude.
Is it a daughter or is it a granddaughter?
Her daughter's there.
Is it her daughter or granddaughter?
Granddaughter, innit?
I think it's her granddaughter.
Still, would you want to know about how your grandma got,
But how much
up the
detail?
duft.
But how much detail is she going into? 'Cause you don't really hear...
she explains it. She's like sitting there going, "Oh, one of you nude girls." She sits there laying there with faff out, and then she talks about wiping her hand down the sweaty window of the car.
Do you know that was the first film that Leo and Kate filmed together? Was the scene where he draws her naked? And James Cameron said that wasn't his plan. He didn't want that.
James Cameron drew it, didn't he, as well?
Yeah. He didn't want that.
Don't worry, Leo, I've got this.
Yeah, but he didn't draw it with her being a model, though. He said, I didn't know well enough, so he had to use photographs of her.
Yeah, he didn't want to film that bit first, but basically the set for the ship wasn't finished being built, so they had to just film whatever they had the sets for. And he said, because it was the first thing that they filmed, it ended up adding to the scene because it's awkward, obviously. Yeah. So it adds to that sort of nervousness that Jack's feeling and sort of how vulnerable she feels because they didn't audition together apparently.
No.
They literally,
which you think you should really do if you want to make sure chemistry is right.
Apparently, it was something to do with scheduling.
It probably was.
Because to be fair, Roger Ebert is right. And fair play to James Cameron, because not every director can pull off a film on this scale. Like when you think about the literally hundreds of extras, probably hundreds of crew members you've got.
Oh, the set builders alone, yeah.
The production is incredible.
Like. I've shot on a water stage, right, for a commercial I did. Not even close to the size of the one on Titanic. The one I shot on was about the depth of a puddle. And even that... Because to be fair, the water was only up to our ankles, right? So, but it was a water stage. And even that, and we weren't filming out like this. We literally were filming two of us walk into the water and we fire a fire extinguisher on a third guy, right? That's all we were doing.
Sounds homoerotic.
But after every single take, they had to wipe down the camera in case any water had splashed on it. We were freezing cold. They had to make sure none of the electrics were anywhere near the water. And we, like I said, we were only up to it in our ankles.
Can you imagine how difficult it must have been?
Half of them caught the flu, because they're in such cold water for such long periods of time. Most of the cast became sick.
Why didn't they warm the water up?
Well,
because James Cameron demands
probably
authenticity.
Too much of it as well, because obviously we had the experience of making The Abyss before it, so we had a lot of experience of making a movie underwater. That whole film is underwater, like 90% of it. But the Abyss, because we're in the Abyss anyway, there was so much water, they couldn't warm it up because there's just too much of it. I imagine Titanic was the same.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest water stage ever built, isn't it, Titanic?
I imagine so. I mean, the Abyss I can't remember, it was like a lot of water in the Abyss, but they built like a whole, like just a circular studio for the Abyss and everything was just done underneath. But yeah.
I have to say, like...
What challenging...
Now I've given the grievances, the direction in this is awesome. It perfectly captures the scale. It captures the weight.
The ship feels huge, doesn't it?
And I have to be honest, the shot choices are fantastic.
I mean, seeing all the extras and stuff like that, and seeing the boat go down, you're just like, Jesus, that's what it really must have looked like, like when it was happening. And I think that's just like,
I think that's what it captured so well. Like, out of all the negatives that I've thrown at this film, it captures the scale of the tragedy incredibly well. The other thing as well I will throw at this film as a positive is the cast is fucking stellar. Well, every single cast member. I'll let you talk about it then. But I absolutely love the cast in this film.
I just obviously like Leo and Kate are a big part of why I like the film as much as I do. Obviously they carry the film. All the casts are great, like you say. Like I think everyone in it is great, but then I think that's something that James Cameron is just so good at, and why his films are so good is he gets the best performances out of his actors. Like he just is so much focused on performance. I think even if you gave Cameron a budget of $100,000 to make a film, the acting would still be amazing because he's just a very actor director. Yeah. And I don't know. I think Leo and Kate's chemistry is just
their
perfect.
Chemistry is undeniable in this film.
It's mesmerising. Like you can't imagine any other two people playing those parts. Like it's just so well cast.
It also surprises me that, as you say, they didn't audition together. Because honestly, I'd have been like, well, there's absolutely no way you could have gotten the chemistry right without them having fucking met. You'd have to have auditioned them together to see the how it works.
But I think, but when he did get them together, I think they did rehearse and stuff together
of
once
course.
But
they're professionals. I'm no doubt that they put the effort in.
Sure.
And also, again, strong direction helps. But it's their skill that nails it.
I really love once the boat hits the iceberg. I think he captures very well that feeling of impending doom from the minute it's funny, what he captures is the boat's heading towards the iceberg, and it proves that even if I am saying the script's not good, it must at least work on an emotional level, because we obviously all know the real life history of Titanic. We know it hits the iceberg. You don't go into this film going, oh, I wonder if it's going to hit an iceberg. You know.
I can't wait till they reach New York.
And yet still, in the film, when that bit happens, in the back of your head, you're going, come on, miss it.
Yeah.
And I think when it hits, you feel a sense of, oh, they're all fucked.
Yeah.
But but everyone on the ship's not. I like the build up, because even when they hit the iceberg, then
the ship
everyone
seems fine for a little while.
Exactly,
doesn't it?
yeah, because no one really knows what's happened, and no one knows the danger of what's just happened. So they're just all on the deck, kicking the ice around like a football, and
they're even telling the passengers, aren't they? Like, oh, it's just a little thing. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's
the build-up of it, going through the crew, then getting to the captain, and then you think, shit, something's really gone wrong.
I like the scene when Victor Garber, who plays the shipbuilder,
he was the guy I was about to mention.
He was great,
when
man.
he works out that it's gonna sink,
and it's inevitable. They can't stop it.
Yeah.
He's great in it as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's really weird to see Victor Garber in a film like this, because I'm used to him being in stuff like he's in like the Arrowverse TV show and things like that.
I've never really seen him in much else. He's so great in Titanic.
I've only ever seen him in supporting roles in like CW TV shows.
Yeah,
and you're like, how did you go from Titanic to that?
Yeah, I don't know. He's brilliant in it, and also David Warner.
Yeah,
David Warner David Warner is one of those guys that nails every single role he gets. Yeah, even if they're shit. Yeah. Like, he was Sark in Tron, and we watched Tron recently on VGMP. I remember thinking it was quite a good film, and then when we rewatched it, it's garbage.
Oh, okay.
And David Warner's character has fuck all to do in it, and it's a garbage character, and it's still David Warner, and he smashes it. But when you give him a really meaty part as well, he was Chancellor Gorkon, in Star Trek VI: Undiscovered Country, nails that role. His most memorable role in Star Trek is he plays a Cardassian that tortures Picard in a two-parter in Star Trek Next Generation. One of the biggest villains in, like, literally only in a two-parter. Doesn't die, but he manages to terrify you just by asking the question, how many lights do you see? Guy is incredible, and he's incredible in this. I mean, his part is not as three-dimensional as it has been in other things, because he's not the main character, but man, always brings it. Him, Victor Garber, really surprised me, because everyone else on the posh level, there's Jonathan Hyde, I believe.
Is that who I'm thinking of? The really posh guy with the mustache?
Yeah, and
who, when he gets on the boat, he's like really embarrassed, and he's like hoping no one sees him.
Well, he's the one who tells him to speed it up. It's like, oh, well, it's unsinkable, so just fucking speed up.
Yeah, imagine the headlines if we turn up there on Tuesday. That guy.
Yeah. It was Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Street Fighter trope. Street Fighter, the 1994 one.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Best film ever. Better than this.
I haven't seen that for about 10 years. I have to rewatch it. Classic, man.
Honestly, I'd watch it more.
I would see M. Bison drop kick Jack. You know what could have saved
him?
No,
having drop kick Billy Zane.
You know what could have saved him from the iceberg? A Hadouken.
Yeah. What, to patch the hole in the hull?
No, to smash the iceberg.
Oh, I see, yes.
Anyway. You're right. The guy playing, I don't know his name, unfortunately, but the guy who plays the captain, he does a really good job, I think.
Yeah, he's really good, yeah.
I think for me, the tragedy... So, to my surprise, I didn't cry at the end.
Yeah, I didn't
The
either.
first time I saw it when I was a kid, I did. I sobbed my eyes out.
Bernard Hill played the captain.
Bernard Hill. For me, this time around, my actual emotional peak came a little bit earlier when they're all forcing their way onto the lifeboats, and there's the guard who Billy Zane tries to bribe, isn't they?
Yeah.
And he ends up throwing the money back at him.
Yeah.
And then he ends up killing himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, that bit was brilliant.
That was my emotional peak in the film. Like, I never got back up to that level again.
No.
So I still enjoyed the rest of it, but the rest of it kind of felt like...
You know what?
an afterthought to me, because I was like, that was the emotional peak of the movie.
You know what? That was the point. He should have killed Billy Zane, because he shoots and he accidentally kills someone, doesn't he? That's why he kills himself. He should have killed Billy Zane.
Yeah.
Because I think we've had all the other Zane, the all insanity.
Actually,
by that point.
No, I'm wrong. There was one bit afterwards, actually, that was my emotional peak. The bit when him and Cal convince Kate Winslet to get on the boat.
Is that not? No, that's before.
Is that
though.
before?
That's before.
And he knows. Cal makes up some bollocks
they both
about.
know they're
this.
lying, don't they?
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
See, that was a point which I thought it was possible that Billy Zane's character could have a slight redemption, because he's lying for Rose's benefit, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise she'd stay and die for nothing.
The thing is, I'm glad he didn't have like, that, because
He didn't turn good. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because he's just bad, isn't he? Like,
Well,
it would have been quite unrealistic, I think, for him to.
I don't know though, because like
He didn't have a good bone in his body, man.
well, it depends though. That the reason that he didn't have a good bone in his body because everything was about himself, but that is actually a point where he didn't do anything for himself.
But he would have done anything for Rose, because he did care. He was really selfish.
That's my
but he
point.
did care
So,
about Rose.
and that's why I'm thinking like that could have been a point where he realizes like it's last man standing, everything's fucked. I've got to help as much as possible. Because like it almost does it again when he gets the kid, because the kid's alone crying. There's no parent with that child when he picks it up and go. Now he obviously uses that child for his own sake.
Imagine if it was even worse and the kid had a mum and he just punches the mum and takes the kid.
That's the thing. It's like,
throws the mum over.
Throws the mum overboard. Yeah, just takes the kid.
but
yeah.
it would have added another layer. But again,
As soon as he gets off the boat and he's in the water, he just punches the baby.
but that's his last play, isn't it? Because he pays the guy so that he can get on the boat, walks away to get Rose, gets Rose on the boat, lies to her with Leo, then basically tells Leo, go stuff yourself, goes back to his boat a bit later, and when he gets back there, it's a bit more desperate, and the guy throws his money back at him. When he shoots, that should be the death of Billy Zane. Shoots Billy Zane to defend himself, and then realises he's killed someone of class, and then kills himself. That should have been the point where Billy Zane died.
I haven't got a problem that he survived, really. But myself, because I just at the end, it still doesn't work out for him. Like and there's that bit as well.
But
when
he dies off camera.
But then there's that bit where, like, I do like that shot scene where, Kate's, they're on the surviving boat, and then Kate's like hiding behind the thing, and Billy walks behind her.
He's calling her name, isn't he?
And I don't know if he's calling her name, but he's looking for her, and then she just hides herself, like, because she don't want to be seen by him, and then that's her. She's not gonna, I like that where she hides from him.
I just don't like the fact that his downfall is off camera and just in some shit sloppy text. I wanted to, when he gets to the boat, like, he's already been told his money is worthless in the moment. His money thrown back at him. When he maybe see his downfall at that point on the boat somewhere.
Yeah.
The
only thing I can think of is it's like I said, James Cameron doesn't want you to have that moment of feeling good when, the ship's about to go down.
But then don't let him survive. He could have died a million ways in which it wouldn't have been about catharsis or revenge. I'm not asking for Leonardo DiCaprio to fucking Hans Gruber
pull a
off the fucking
Django
side.
pull a Django, suddenly go Django on him.
But you know what I mean? There were ways and means.
It's very cool when the ship breaks in half, innit?
Yeah, and I love the Lovejoy's
cool.
on the halfway point as well. Just seeing that horror in his face, because he's
and they're all as it's going up and up and up, and the angle's getting steeper and steeper, and it is very cool that they're all like clinging to the top of the boat.
I mean, I think that was the most complicated scene he had to shoot, because obviously everyone had to be in harnesses tied to the boat and stuff like that, and there was people it was all like rubber furniture and stuff, so people were sliding down that boat, and the dangers were like not really hitting the objects on the boat, but getting like bone, like elbows, and people hitting each other.
James Cameron, actually, that sequence was originally more complicated, and he ended up simplifying it. Originally, a lot more stunt performers were meant to fall off the boat, and they started filming, and like straight away, 3 men broke their arms. And James Cameron went, okay, no, we're not doing that.
The thing is, James Cameron
is
a very dangerous, risky filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like, he will just do anything to
But
get what he wants.
I have to say, he saw 3 people break their arms, and called it off. Whereas we've known directors who have basically gone, "Fuck you, I want the shot."
Yeah,
I saw a cameo that I didn't remember was in this film. It's not a cameo because he wasn't famous at the time. Owen Grufford's in this film in a small role, isn't he? He's
Who's
one
that?
of the... Owen Grufford is one of the people on the the lifeboat where Kathy Bates like, we've got to turn around. He's the guy on that boat.
Oh, okay.
He went on to be Mr. Fantastic in the 2 really bad Fantastic Four movies. And he was also in 102 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which I went to the premiere of in Leicester Square, and I met Glenn Close.
Wow.
I also didn't expect to see a wrestler in this film.
If this is a pun, I'm going to flip this table.
Let's move on.
Anyway, anything else?
It doesn't surprise me that you can't see him.
Would anyone like to say anything else about Titanic before I move on to some trivia I've got about the making of the film? No?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so
Otherwise
I
I'm
think
gonna
we
make
all...
another John
I think
Cena
it's safe to say we've all enjoyed it, though. We've all enjoyed a rewatch.
Yeah, it's not a bad film at all. It's got terrible elements in it and things that... The thing that disappoints me the most is that the script should have been stronger. It had all the money and all the fucking time in the world to tell a story, and the script fudged it. However, the direction and the acting saved it. But it annoys me that the bit that's really free, which is talent in script writing, is the bit that's missing.
Kirk, still as good as the day you first saw it?
I still think it tells the story quite well. I don't know, like recently watching it, especially in like 4K format. I know format's not everything, but it was quite astonishing. Like rewatching it in that way. I don't know. I mean, I do agree with some of your criticisms though with the thing, but again, like pacing has never been a big issue with the film for me. I've always still felt like it goes really fast, in my opinion. I don't know why. I'm just entertained by it.
It goes fast, but it never gets furious.
Yeah, it's true. It kind of does though.
I suppose the ship is running on Vin Diesel. Jamie, it looks like it's going to kill me.
The show's not worth doing
Tokyo
anymore.
Drift.
Oh, I did just want to say, I wanted to put my 2 cents
Talk
in.
about Tokyo Drift.
I just wanted to put my 2 cents in and say that the song by Celine Dion is an absolute banger. I fucking love it. I love My Heart Will Go On. It's a great song.
It's alright. I like just the also just the music at the very start of the film. I don't know who made that piece, but it's just like it's just an instrumental at the start of the film. And I think
composition.
what's the? Is it
I
the
think
same?
it's Celine Dion. Yeah.
No, it's not Celine Dion.
Doing
Isn't it the same?
I think it's Celine Dion.
I don't know if it is. Is it the same piece as when they're what's in the montage bit where the guys are playing the violins and stuff?
Oh,
that might be a different piece.
I don't remember the name of that song.
See, I think that's
So My Heart Will Go On was by James Horner, who is a soundtrack composer more so than anything, obviously performed by Celine Dion. So it is possible that it's a version of that. There's Wedding Dance, which I'm guessing it's not that. Valse Septembre, it could be that.
I really
Sphinx,
like the musical at the start of the
Weird that there's a
film
song
that
called
draws you
Sphinx.
in, but
Vision of Salome. Alexander's Ragtime Band, I'm guessing it's not that.
no. It sounds awesome, whatever it is.
Oh, mate.
But yeah, I was just about to say though, for the saddest part of the film is that montage part where you're seeing just the ship falling to bits. You just got the guys playing the last song on their orchestra, violins and stuff, and then you just seeing the ship getting trashed and people panicking and you just get a real scope of what's the tragedy of what's going on.
Yeah.
I like that scene. Fantastic.
Well, just a few little bits of trivia that you may or may not already know. During the early part of the shoot, while not everyone was on set, it was just the modern day crew, so all the people in the modern scenes. Some wiseacre, who I don't think they ever caught, went to the catering table and spiked the soup with PCP. And they all ended up off their nut on PCP. They had to go to hospital.
During what scene? Or did it not make
During
the film?
the modern day, like the start
That
of the
explains
film.
right. Are you telling me that
Bill
the bits
Paxton and James Cameron ended up in
I
hospital?
knew some
high
of them
on
ended up in
PCP.
hospital, but I didn't know it's because someone spiked the drink. Because Cameron says it on the commentary that they all got put. But old Rose didn't get poisoned because she didn't drink it.
Yeah.
But a bunch of them did.
No,
and,
bollocks. I reckon what happened was the present day sequences, they all got spoke with PCP, including old woman Rose. She started talking about how she got fucking screwed in the back of a car, and they just went, "Oh, keep it, and we'll do a scene in it later with the kids." Whatever.
Who would have done that on the set, though, man? Who would have fucking done that?
Don't know. Some wiseacre. James
Wiseacre,
Cameron.
is that a northern?
No, that's an American thing. You wiseacre.
Is it?
Yeah, from like the 1930s.
I've heard of peckerwood, but not wiseacre.
Peckerwood.
It's a fucking
Back to the future,
peckerwood.
Back to the
It means
future,
it
haven't
means you're a cock, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like it does. Anyway, you may or may not know from his other films, James Cameron is widely regarded as an absolute and utter nightmare to work for. I don't know if you've ever known this. There's a very good documentary on Netflix, actually. There's a documentary series called The Movies That Made Us. And if you watch their episode on aliens, you get a real insight how difficult James Cameron is to work with.
Wasn't
the
some of it-
entire crew of Aliens, because they shot Aliens at Pinewood.
Yeah.
The entire crew nearly walk out on him.
Did they
because
not
he's
say,
screaming at them.
Did they not say though? I've heard an alternate version of that event though on Aliens, where in the way that James Cameron tells it, so take it with whatever pinch of salt you like, is that he was trying to film Aliens. Obviously, they used a lot of fog machine effects and shit. He'd fog it, and then he was like, "Oh, well, the Brits always take tea time."
And then
at
the
same
tea
time."
lady comes in.
So they'd open the doors, and all the smoke would go. And he was, both him and the UK crew say that it was a shit time working together. But obviously, they're each blaming each other.
It's on the culture because they don't take breaks in America.
Right.
Well, the crew on Titanic describes James Cameron as a 300 decibel screamer. And it got to a point where the crew started saying that he had an evil alter ego like a Mr. Hyde, who they named Midge. As it's Jim backwards. Because he's called, everyone calls him Jim Cameron,
I
don't
thought
they?
Midge as in MIDG.
No, M-I-J.
And this is on Titanic.
On Titanic, people call him Midge. When he was angry, they'd go, "Watch out, Midge is on set." Kate Winslet refused to ever work with him again.
But yet, when you see the commentaries and behind the scenes stuff, they all say how much they love him.
Yeah, because they'll want extra work.
Because they want more
And the man
work,
is
that's
very
why.
successful.
I mean, he seems like quite a. He's so obsessed, and you can see it'd be quite difficult to work with because it's like he'll do anything to get what he wants.
And he is right. This is a dangerous film. Like,
I mean, it's talking about the Abyss. Going back to the Abyss, I can't. The lead actress in the Abyss, can't think of her name, but there's a scene where she has to drown, and then Ed Harris's character has to get her underwater back to their ship or whatever, and then they get her out the water, and Ed Harris is screaming at her to come back to, like, he's giving her CPR, and he's slapping her in the face, and Cameron just had it go, took take after take after take of Ed Harris just slapping her in the face. And then it was just like, go again, until the point she turned around and said, "We're not fucking animals." And she just got up and walked off. And apparently she won't speak about her experience on the Abyss, even to this day.
Maybe
and
just like
it's
seeing women get slapped.
And it's just like, and it's so rough because, like, Cameron, he does seem like a bit of a monster behind the camera, to be fair. But his films are like just on another level. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Like, he makes absolutely incredible films: Terminator, The Abyss, Titanic, Terminator 2, Aliens. But how far are you willing to go?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's willing to go as far as it takes.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with that. But
No. He comes across as someone who gets obsessive because after
Absolutely, yeah.
like in terms of, as you were saying, with the bell diving underwater stuff, he's still been doing that for fucking decades. Like, and fair play if that's what he enjoys and that's what he wants to do. That's great. But like, you have to become a special kind of obsessed.
Yeah.
To not just be like, oh, it'd be nice to see Titanic a bit, then to be like, I built my own fucking diving bell company so I can send myself down whenever I want.
Many cast and crew on the film caught colds, flu, and kidney infections, spending so long in the freezing cold water. And Kate Winslet swore she would never work with James Cameron again unless given lots and lots of money.
Oh, so that's not a never again, then, is it?
yeah,
The
exactly,
film-
yeah.
Pay me more, batcha.
The film cost over $1 million per minute of screen time. Yeah. The first class lounge, and actually I want to give it some props here, the first class lounge was a miniature with a
Yeah, it
green
was never
screen
built.
backdrop.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
fair play to him, you can't tell.
No, you
I
can't,
didn't think
no.
there was any green screen
I only knew
backdrops
that
in
after
this.
No.
watching the commentary track, and he mentioned it.
There's a couple of times I can tell there's green screening. Not very
When
many.
they're outdoors, though.
There's a couple.
Not indoors, I
Not
couldn't tell
indoors.
any of
No.
them.
There's the bit where Rose is about to jump off and kill herself, supposedly, and Leo just trying to discuss, like trying to talk.
Yeah,
her
that's
out of
really
it.
obvious. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really shit green screening. Now I'll tell you what, this is a year before, and it's done much better in terms of its green screening than Godzilla '98, which we've reviewed before. Honest to God, I do not know how they fucked up green screening so much in such a big Hollywood blockbuster as Godzilla '98 in the era that it was made. It's worse than the '60s Bond movies. And I'm like, how have you got this badly wrong? Like, it's not an indie production.
And last fact, because this never happens these days either, does it? Titanic's initial theatrical run lasted for 10 months. It was in cinemas for 10 months, with came out in December 97, but its most profitable single day, surprisingly not, was Valentine's Day 1998.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Well, you can believe it, can't you?
Of course
Like
you can.
Valentine's Day, everyone.
A lot
took
of
their
men got
partner,
dragged
like-
to that film that day, didn't they, by their
Absolutely,
wives
yeah.
and girlfriends.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I think that is it for Titanic.
That's a good finishing point.
It is. It's been fantastic having you on, Kirk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Do you have anything you want to plug on the show, or?
Just go and watch Titanic if you ain't seen it.
Wonderful.
It's worth watching.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave us a review if you could. That would be wonderful. Please do check out the other episodes of Second Take Cinema available on all good podcatcher apps. You can also check out VGMP, the video game movie podcast, where we review video game-based movies, and our audio drama series, Haunted the Audio Drama, which has just finished its second season and will be coming back after a short break for season 3. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Second Take Cinema.